Hello and welcome to IFA Insider. I'm Emmet Ryan of Action81.com, and this will be our weekly look at American football across the island. We're going to be here looking at the games week to week, all the way up to the Shamrock Bowl in the summer. And this week we're going to be focusing particularly on the games between the Belfast Trojans and Craigavon Cowboys, and between the Dublin Rebels and the Dublin Rhinos. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of American football on the island of Ireland. The game's been here for over 70 years. There was a game between servicemen from the US in Belfast in 42, but it didn't really take off as a playing basis until the mid 80s, when, of course, the NFL and college football started being shown on Irish and British TV. And from there, the first league was born, and the Craigavon Cowboys beat the Dublin Celts in the first ever Shamrock Bowl 1. That was 6-0 back in 1986. Well, it's still going strong 27 years later, and there are now 9 teams playing across the island in the Shamrock Bowl Conference, as well as a development league, IFL 1. That division doesn't start for another 2 weeks, so we're going to start off by looking at this weekend's action. The UL Vikings beat UCD 11-0 in their game, but we're going to start off by talking to the Belfast Trojans' Alan Orr, their special teams coach, about their victory 46-13 over the Craigavon Cowboys. Alan, your first game of the season as defending Shamrock Bowl champions. Just talk us through what you guys did, I suppose, on offense that really worked out well for you against Craigavon.
Well, we started off very slowly in the first 5 minutes. We let Craigavon put a score on the board, and I think that woke up the guys a wee bit. Certainly, what we have found always in every start of every season is the first game's very crucial to get up and running on offense. And again, it was a rusty start, but obviously we came back very strongly. After that drive, I say McKelvey walked the team up the field a bit, and overall the first half performance all round was pretty good. Again, we can't complain. It was really just shaking off the rust.
I suppose just for people who aren't used to seeing the Trojans play, because obviously you wouldn't have too many guys seeing you in action when they're not playing against you. What sort of an offense do you guys run? Are you run heavy, pass focused? What way do you play those games?
Yeah, well, basically, it's very much a mixed bag. We've been very fortunate this year that Jerome Egg now is taken off the helmet and he's on the sidelines and he's trying to mix things up a bit. I mean, really what we're doing is we're watching what other teams are doing and changing our offence to suit that.
Of course, Jerome's very experienced as a lineman at NCAA level with Duke before he was playing in Belfast. So, how's he helping out for you guys?
The experience is immense. I mean, the guy's been around at such a high level. And I think what he does is he brings a calmness to the team, which we're very glad to have. I mean, at times, even when he was on the pitch, just to see him pulling the helmet on and going in to settle things down made such a difference, and it has done. But this time, really with him being on the sidelines, he just has that calming effect. There's no complacency, but he certainly does bring something different to the team.
Of course, after that early score that Craigavon managed against you, it was pretty much a defensive clinic. Like, what did you guys do to shut them down after going behind early?
Well, again, it was just we decided, we knew where the main threat was going to come from. And again, it was, as I said to you earlier on, it was really just the guys settling themselves down for the first game. We just tried to mix the players up a bit. We do have a very good running game. We've got a good depth of runners, and to say that even our star running back, Mr. Colvin, wasn't really needed at that stage. I mean, certainly Alex Newton and Gary Carr, put the pressure on them a bit. But James was in good form, and as I say, 5 TDs on the offence overall. McKelvey thrown for 4 touchdowns. Good day, but we know we have to keep improving. With a tough game coming up in 2 weeks' time. That's probably going to be a bigger test for us. But as I say, we've got a good playbook, and the guys in the team at the minute really putting a lot of effort in learning it, which is paying off. And of course, this is your season. You're defending Shamrock Bowl champions after it was a long road for the Trojans really getting there. What are you guys doing maybe different this year to what you did last year to try and retain the title in 2013? The main difference really has been the fact that now the head coach, Drew Mikhail and Jerome Egg there are really putting a lot of effort into what's going on off the pitch with the playbook and drilling the players. Last year we probably suffered a bit because it was a bit of we had the players, coaches, etc. And again on the sideline, that was probably one of our weaknesses, if we had one. I think in general, we just as an organisation are just trying to push ourselves to the limit of what we can actually do. And there's no magic formula. I think really what's impressed me is the respect that we've had from our peers within the league, who are now looking up to us, and we just want to continue to raise the bar and try and improve the standard in the league generally. We've really had a great season, beyond maybe our expectations in some respect, going unbeaten. And to follow up on that, you know how it is, Emmet. Everybody's going to be looking at we've got targets on our back, and it's really just making sure that we're 20% better than everybody else.
And one last thing before you go, because I just really want to touch on the way you've got from player coaches to dedicated coaches. Because I know myself in my brief playing days, I often had coaches playing on the line with me. What's the difference in having the coaches fully dedicated to coaching rather than in that player coaching role? How does it improve the Trojans, I suppose?
It's reading the game. I think before, when a guy's running on and coming off and trying to watch what's happening, I think it just gives the coaches a better overall picture. Certainly watching the players and seeing how the players are reacting, which again you can't obviously see when you're on the field, the guys behind you, what they're actually up to. But no, I think again, complacency. People say with having such depth throughout the team, are there going to be guys getting complacent? The coaches won't let them do that. I mean, one thing I'll say for Coach Mikhail, the drive that guy has got, and I think he will give us the extra 10% this year straight off the bat. But the guys have responded. I mean, the off-season training's been phenomenal. We went to Craigavon. We were missing maybe, I'd say, 9 players that would have got on that team as first starters. So there's a lot more in the tank. And what it's really going to do is push us on. I mean, the fact that the actual guy that we give the MVP to was a rookie, a Johnny McConnell, just proves what the depth has been. And as I said, the coaches have really been pushing the guys through pre-season. And for that fella to actually walk away with the MVP in his first game, that's the depth we have. And I think that's where maybe teams are going to struggle against us this year.
Well, Alan, that's been great talking to you. Thanks for joining us on IFA Insider on our debut episode. And I hope to hear from you guys at the Trojans in a couple of weeks' time again.
Great. Thanks very much. Pleasure talking to you.
That was Alan Orr of the Belfast Trojans. The Dublin Rhinos had their first game of the season, losing 22-0 at the hands of Dublin Rebels. I spoke with Barry Bolton, left tackle with the Rhinos, to see what went right and what went wrong for the Rhinos in their opening game of the year. Barry, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Emmet.
Well, Barry, obviously I know it was a defeat. It was a tough game for you guys. But before we get to sort of what went wrong, I just want to ask you about what went right. Is there anything that stood out for you about positive aspects of the performance from the Rhinos on Sunday?
Yeah, I think there's a lot we can take from the game. I mean, it's always tough coming away with a loss, especially when you get shut out and you don't put any points on the board. But if we look at it from a different point of view, there was 3 quarters of football where the scoreline was 0-0. We gave up 3 touchdowns in the second quarter, and we couldn't come back from that. And that was the negative. But on the plus side, we did shut the Rebels out for 3 quarters, and we had a good few drives where we moved the ball into their field position, and with some good special teams, we pinned the Rebels' offense back inside their own goal line, around 5-10 yard line, and that helped us as well on defense. There was one punt where I think we downed on the 3 yard line, and they had to play out their own end zone then at that stage. And little things like that were positive for us. There wasn't like I say, you want to put points on the board, you want to come away with a win, but when you don't, you have to look at what you did successfully. And another thing we did is we came away winning the turnover battle. We protected the ball fairly well. We had one interception that we threw when one of our receivers slipped on a route, and we came away with an interception of our own and a fumble recovery as well. So there's a couple of things where we came out on top, but unfortunately it wasn't on the scoreline.
I was looking at the scoreline then. Rebels managed to get a 22-0 lead up by the half. What was it that went wrong for you guys defensively, or was it a field position issue really that cost you that for those scores?
Yeah, it was partially field position. When the Rebels punted the ball to us late in the first quarter, we were backed up on our own goal line as well. And after a quick 3-and-out, we were forced to punt the ball back to the Rebels. So they started their first scoring drive around about midfield, which made things easier. The main problem we had on Sunday was we weren't expecting. Well, not that we weren't expecting, but we were up against a strong running game from the Rebels, stronger than they've had in previous years. They put Simon Mackey back at running back, who's a big bruiser of a runner, and it took our defence a while to climatise to having how to tackle such a powerful runner. You could see evidently from the sideline where early in the game people were trying to tackle him up high and were failing miserably. And after a few times when you realise this isn't working, and the coaches had their say in it, that the players eventually picked up, well, look, we have to go lower on this guy and take him down. And eventually, after a bit of practice and a bit of change up in the huddle and on the sideline, we managed to come up with a better system to stop the running game. And from there, we kind of went strength to strength on defence. And after a bad second quarter, we stopped them scoring for the rest of the game.
I suppose, obviously, you're an offensive lineman, like I used to be back in my brief playing days. What were sort of the looks you were getting from the Rebels that day? Like, what were you dealing with more? Was it pass coverage, run coverage? What were you having to... run coverage. Was it, were you doing more pass blocking, run blocking? What were you having to deal with in terms of the Rebels? Were they blitzing a lot?
Yeah, they weren't blitzing as much as they would have done in previous years. I found, at left tackle, I'm usually out there on my own. You might have help from a running back if there's pressure from the outside, but there was a few blitzes here and there. It wasn't as strong as I've seen from them in the past, but I think that was part of it. They were keeping more guys in coverage for when we threw the ball. They weren't committing too many players to the blitz. Sometimes they only sent the four linemen rather than any linebackers as pressure, and it made things easier for us to block up the front, but it made it harder for a quarterback to pass the ball and get success in the air.
And obviously, Barry, one of the things you guys love to do this year is take the next step and make it to the postseason, make it to the playoffs. What do you think you guys are doing different in 2013 from 2012 that'll help you get there?
Yeah, we don't want to change too much from last year. I mean, last year we finished 4-4. It's the best record we've had since the team started a couple of years ago. And from there, we made it to the wildcard game where we lost to the Carrickfergus Knights. So we'd be aiming for something around the same, a 4-4 finish, possibly back into the wildcard game and maybe the semi-finals, the Shamrock Bowl, depending on how the season progresses. We've a new quarterback this year. We lost our long-time quarterback last year to Australia. And we're slowly making changes, and the offense is kind of settling into his style. So it'll just take a couple of games for everything to settle down and become a routine and become automatic for everyone.
And so just finally, because obviously you're a lineman, so the relationship with the quarterback is very important. What's the difference in the style you guys are doing from quarterback play this year to last year, and what are you guys having to adjust with on the line?
Well, when we lost our starting quarterback, Stephen Mackin, last year, he was more of a pocket passer. He'd drop back. We'd always equate him to the type of Ben Roethlisberger. He'd be a big guy. He can drop back. He can take a hit, and he can dodge a hit. And we've gone that direction now with our new quarterback, Aaron. But in the interim between when we lost Stephen Mackin last year and where we are now, we had faster, smaller guys, and
more of a scrambling type, was it?
Yeah, more where they'd be rolling out of the pocket, trying to find a quick pass or pulling the ball down and running down the field, which as a lineman is difficult to block for because you're expecting him to be in one position and next second he's somewhere completely different. So it's easier to block for a pocket passer. You know where he's going to be. You know where the defense is going to be aiming for him, so you know who you should be blocking and where you should be blocking them. So it's easier now that you have a pure pocket passer who you can drop back and protect.
Well, Barry, listen, that's been great. Thanks for joining us on our debut episode of IAFA Insider, and hope to hear from you again later this season.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me again, Emmet.
That was Barry Bolton of the Dublin Rhinos, and that pretty much brings an end to our first show here on IFA Insider. We're just going to have a quick look now at the games coming up this week in the IFA, in the Shamrock Bowl Conference. We have the Carrickfergus Knights at the Rhinos again, and we have Trinity College at UL Vikings, the season opener for Carrickfergus and Trinity, respectively. Now, with this show, it is our first week, and obviously we're still finding our way and trying to work out what you guys want to hear. So we really want you to get in touch with us. Tweet me at Action81 or get in touch with the Irish American Football Association across its various channels on Facebook, on its website, americanfootball.ie, and of course on Twitter as well. We really want to hear from you guys. Let us know, and feel free to contact me personally on Twitter. Let us know what you want to hear on the show, what you want there to be, and just so we can make a show that you guys are into. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, who's someone got no interest at all until literally this second in American football, or if you're someone who's been watching American football for 30, 40 years, been playing for 15. We really want a good broad spread of opinions. So tweet me, like I said, Emmet Ryan, I'm at Action81, and get in touch with the guys in the IAFA. Let us know what you want to think. But thank you very much for listening to our first show on IAFA Insider.